In 2013, in April, I believe, he had referenced a situation that he wanted me to pray for. He said, Mom, I'm going to be calling somebody's husband.
Sustained.
The conversation you're talking about with Jonathan, did you memorialize that in some fashion? Did you write it down?
I did.
Okay. What did you write it down in?
A prayer journal. Journal.
And that prayer journal, do you write date of entry or?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you make the entry into your prayer journal?
You actually have a page. It was April. I don't have the exact date.
Okay.
2013.
Okay. And you wrote that in your prayer journal because your son was requesting some prayer.
Correct.
Now, what you wrote in your prayer journal, was that in reference to Sabrina Limon?
I did not know that was Sabrina Limon at that time.
Okay. So you didn't have a name attached with the prayer?
No, sir.
When did you first meet, or have you ever met Sabrina Limon?
I met her sometime after the murder.
Ms. Hearn? That microphone, it'll move it. There you go. That way you don't have to. Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Go ahead.
Where did you meet her at?
I met her at a pizza place in Apple Valley.
Prior to Jonathan's arrest, how many times did you see Sabrina?
I didn't know it was her, but I saw her, my kids saw her in a Costco one time, and
Your Honor, object calls for hearsay and to strike.
Sustained, you can come at it a different way, Mr. Smith. Go ahead.
Just speaking for you, how many times did you personally see Sabrina Limon after her husband passed?
once.
One time. When you were at the restaurant in Apple Valley, did you know who you were speaking with? I mean, did you have context why you were there, who you were with?
Yes. I don't know how much to say at this point or not, but I knew that my son had sort of, how do you say, appreciated this woman who, and there's like more to the story, but mind you, in my mind, my son Jonathan and Sabrina were only friends. That's the only relation I knew of them. But when this murder had happened and I became aware that she had lost her husband, I felt terrible for her. I sent her a sympathy card. I was sending Bible verses to her anonymously just to encourage her as a young widow with children. I was reaching out to her, and I assumed that when we all met at this restaurant, it was for me to put a face to the woman that I was, ministering to, in a sense. So it was sometime after the murder, and Jonathan and her were not close to one another. You wouldn't have known that anything was between the two of them. Very benign. It was just like a meeting. My children were there, and her children were there, and Jonathan was there, and we just had pizza.
So you had the one in-person meeting.
Yes,
You sent some items to Miss Limon,
I did.
but that's the extent of the contact.
That's the extent.
Up on the photograph Page 2, People 17. Were you present when the residence was searched November 18, 2014? As in, did you go to the house?
No.
Now, were you present when the house was subsequently searched this year, 2017?
There was different dates that people came. I was there for one of them. I don't remember how many other times. You know, there were people from our family there when they would come to get things, collect things, or look for things.
Now, there is a garage attached to the apartment?
Correct.
Okay, whose garage is it?
My dad's.
Okay. What is kept in there?
My dad's 95, lots of things. He has tools, he has boxes, he has memorabilia, he's got just a lot of things in there.
So that is used by your father for storage?
Yes.
Now, the apartment, who occupied the apartment between November 18, 2014 and this year?
Nobody has.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hearn.
Good afternoon.
Mrs. Hearn, Jonathan was homeschooled, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and was that by you?
Yes, sir.
Or were you the primary?
I was the primary teacher.
And as a part and parcel of his education, as he was being homeschooled, was religious instruction.
Yes, sir.
And Jonathan was very astute and very knowledgeable with regards to the scripture, is that right?
I would say fairly, yes.
And throughout growing up, he, through your teachings and everything, he was, how do I put it, fairly devout Christian, is that right?
It seemed to be, yes.
Well, did he appear to be concealing things from you with regards to his beliefs or faith? Or did you honestly believe that he believed the teachings that he received?
I believe that he received the teachings and was going along, and I actually, you know, hindsight's 20/20, but he showed a lot of character. For instance, we used to go to a church for about 25 years, a large church, and then we went about 10 years to another place, but not at that time, hadn't I gone 10 years. But when he lived with us, he joined us at, you know, when we went. And so the newer church that we were at, smaller church, they have communion more often than we did at the other one. And I had noted that he hadn't taken communion. And I just kind of, you know, I mean, there's some people would feel as if you're a Christian, you can take communion. Some people would feel as if you know in your heart that you've wronged somebody, that you really probably shouldn't take communion. You should go fix it with that person and, you know, get your wrongs righted, fix your lies, or whatever it is. You take care of those things before you take communion. And so I didn't know what was going on in his life. I didn't question him, but there were about 3 different times I noted that he hadn't really taken communion. And when I look back, I think, well, those were times that he may have been in this relationship. To what extent, I don't know. And he actually, when he moved out, he would go to the church that we originally used to go to for 25 years. And so he was still in church and whatnot. I didn't see him, in that capacity. But now that I look back, I think, well, he probably was not taking communion because he didn't have things right with the Lord, and he knew it in his heart. And so he didn't want to mess that up, kind of thing. So
Let me ask you this. How many, before you met Sabrina, had you met any of the women that he was seeing since he moved out of your residence?
when Jonathan grew up, when we were raising Jonathan, we emphasized sort of an importance of kind of getting yourself financially and emotionally ready for a relationship. So we encouraged him. I mean, we didn't discourage him from dating and whatnot, but we encouraged him to try to get his ducks in a row kind of thing before he'd go on and take on a family, just for the sake of the family, and to help that kind of be a stability factor, something you wouldn't have to worry about. So
I'm gonna stop you right there, ma'am.
okay.
I'm gonna stop you only because what you're answering is not exactly responsive to what I asked.
I'm sorry.
Before you met Sabrina,
Mm-hmm.
and after Jonathan, and this is the other question. I'm sorry, my hearing isn't what it used to be. As I've gotten older, it's gotten a little worse. When did Jonathan move out of your home?
My mind is still scrambling a little bit. I want to say 2012.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard, but I wanted to be sure
Yeah.
because it almost sounded like 2002, so that sounded a little bit early.
Right.
So he moved out of your residence in 2012. Between the time he moved out in 2012 until you met Sabrina, which would have been in 2014, had you met any of the women that he was dating?
I knew people. I don't. Dating is kind of a loose. I mean, friends with and doing things with, and I don't remember the dates exactly. I mean, there was so and so, and there was so and so we saw over here or whatnot. But it's hard for me to answer exactly. Like, he didn't have this a steady girlfriend or something that was over our house and all that.
Okay. After he moved out, there was no women that you were aware of that he was involved in a romantic relationship with from the time he moved out till when you met Sabrina Limon?
Your definition of romantic is what definition?
Someone he was seeing on a regular basis and was involved with that individual.
I would say no.
Okay. During that time that he moved out to when you met Sabrina Limon, had you met any women that he was seeing on a regular basis?
I wouldn't classify regular basis. So
You can't say
I
one
can't,
way or the other?
I can't say no.
Okay. So you mentioned an incident where you were speaking with Jonathan in April of 2013, I believe. Is that right?
I think so.
And he asked you to pray for him.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's something you noted in your journal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you don't know with any degree of certainty what he was asking you to pray for him about. Would that be accurate?
No, sir.
Okay. And now, in hindsight, 2020, you assume it had to do with Ms. Limon. Is that right?
No, sir. I don't assume. He told me I want to say over a year later, he referenced the incident where I had,
Ma'am, no question pending. Okay. You're now, and I'm going to object and move to strike as a calling for hearsay, Your Honor.
Sustain, to be stricken.
Thank you. At the time you wrote the note down in your journal, you did not know what Jonathan was asking you to pray for him about, right?
no, I did know what he wanted me to pray about. I didn't know who involved, the woman's name that was involved.
Okay, so you knew he was asking you to pray about a woman. he was
Correct.
involved with.
Oh, he was asking me to pray because he was going to be speaking to a woman's husband about being too close to the wife, and that's why I had that written down. So I knew there was a husband he was going to be saying sorry to. I knew there was a wife person there that he had been too close to, but I didn't have a name.
And you assume now that because of that information you received from Jonathan, that had to be Ms. Limon.
No, he told me it was Mrs. Limon.
Move to strike. Your Honor, non-responsive, and he calls for hearsay.
Objection sustained, to be stricken.
Ms. Hearn,
Yes, sir.
at the time you made the notation, you did not know who he was asking you to pray for him about.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you've been to your father's property, I'm sure, a number of times. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's Hesperia's kind of what we call desert area. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your father's property is got other homes on either side of him, right?
That is correct.
Okay, both to the east and the west.
Yes, sir.
And between your father's property and the property to the west, there's a fence. Is that right?
Correct.
And it's a chain link fence about 3 foot high, thereabouts?
No, sir, it's a taller one.
About 4 foot?
I'm going to say 5 feet, but I'm not sure.
It's a chain link fence you can see
Correct.
through, though.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there's nothing that can block your view looking over to the neighbor's yard on the west side. Is that right?
No, there are trees. There's a number of, I think they're Aleppo pine trees. Some are dead, some are not, that can block the view.
Some areas.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also to the east, the property, there's another home and property next to it, right?
Yes, sir.
And a chain link fence over there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to ask this to be marked as the next one.
All right.
That's exhibit H, marked next to mine.
H is in hotel.
Ms. Hearn, in February of this year, you wrote a card to Ms. Limon, is that right?
I don't remember when it was, but I did write her once. Yes.
Showing what's been previously marked as Defense Exhibit H.
Mhm.
Is this the card you sent to Ms. Limon?
Yes, sir.
And that was in February 21st, I believe it stated, is that correct?
It is correct, yes, sir.
And that's of this year.
Yes, sir.
in that you wrote the following.
Could I see it 1 second?
Certainly, Your Honor.
Chair, please, thank you. All right, record reflect, I've looked at People's H. It'll be admitted. Proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hearn, you, in this card, you wrote the following. Sabrina, please know I am praying for you. I do not know what to think or believe about what is going on, but I know you could use prayer. May God help you to see himself clearly. And then you signed it, Carol, is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, what's the date on that?
It is February 21st, 2017, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Now, this is after you found out that your son had admitted to the police that he'd actually killed Sabrina Limon's husband.
That is correct, sir.
And you indicated that you're, at least from what I'm reading this card and interpreting this card, you're saying that you don't know what to think or believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
So would it be safe to say that your son, who you bore and raised, was successful in hiding from you the fact that he killed Robert Limon?
Yes, sir.
He deceived you that entire time. Would that be accurate?
Not totally accurate.
Well, he deceived you from the time when he was arrested until he confessed to the police that he had not been involved in Robert's death.
That's not entirely true. He had written some letters home that, as much as I did not believe my son would do this, there was some wording that made me have a suspicion his hands were not clean. And I believe he was trying to prepare us, because in a letter he told us that the truth would come out at his trial. And
At his trial?
At his trial, yes. He was going to be telling the truth, and there were some other things in letters that made me think he could have been involved in some way, just in some capacity.
But until you received those letters, he successfully deceived you, right? Those
I would
clues
have to
came.
answer yes.
And this is someone you've known his entire life.
Yes, sir. Although, sir, Jonathan, my mother had a major stroke in 2013 that left her as an invalid. And our family cared for her around the clock for a long time. And life was very focused on my mother, helping my then 92-year-old father. And, there was just, she was supposed to be moved every 2 hours. She could not eat. She was on a feeding tube. She could not move except for her head and her arm. We had hospice coming in. We had trying to keep business phones going. We had people that wanted to visit her. We had correspondence to do. She was a very involved in our community person. I was giving email updates.
I'm going to stop you. I'm sorry. I understand. I am sorry. Believe me. I've been there. I've gone understand your focus was not entirely on John.
It was
That's
not, sir.
accurate.
That's right. And he was working overtime shifts. He was a new firefighter, so he was extra time. He'd work days on end. He'd go out on strike teams, whatever it was. I wasn't really concerned. I had a number of other children that I was tending to as well, 2 households.
I understand. When Jonathan was growing up, were there incidents such as him making bombs?
You might call it that. He took a biology class, and they did chemistry and stuff like that. And I remember one silly time. I wouldn't say no, not a bomb. He was goofing around with something, and he ended up burning his hand accidentally because something went off. But it was not by any means any big
Was
deal.
law enforcement at all involved in?
No, sir. No, it was just a little, and I can't remember, but I think he took, how they have those little things you buy at the dollar store that might have gunpowder or something, and maybe he did something and it backfired. I don't really remember the incident other than his hand getting burned.
And you indicated that once Jonathan moved out, you only saw him because he was working so much. You were busy with your mother. You saw him only semi-frequently. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So with regards to his life, once he left your home, you weren't fully aware of all of his activities. So
That's
accurate.
correct. That's correct.
Were you aware of whether or not Jonathan was seeing any other married women or having any type of relationship with any other married women other than Ms. Limon once he moved out of your residence?
No, I was not aware of that.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Thank you, Mrs. Hearn.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Ms. Hearn, you referenced that you would write the dates down in your journal. I have a copy of what we got from your journal. If you could review that to refresh your memory as to the date. If I can see it, counsel. Okay. Thank you. If you could just review those documents, if it would help you to refresh your memory relating to the date. If you could just read it to yourself.
So I'm concerned only on the date of it, or?
Yes, I'm just going to inquire if you, based on refreshing your recollection, you remember the date that you wrote the entry.
Yes, April 9th, 2013.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
So Terry, anything?
No, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
All right. Ms. Hearn, you can step down. Thank you very much. Subject to recall, counsel?
Yes, sir.
Stay in contact with the prosecutor in case we need you back, but you're free to go. Smith.
We'll call Mike Hearn.
Sir, could you step up to the podium for me, please? Raise your right hand and be sworn.
You solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Come on up, have a seat, please. Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell us your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, my name is Mike Hearn. My last name is spelled Hearn.
Thank you. Your witness, Counselor.
How are you related to Jonathan Hearn?
I'm his father.
Jonathan went to a school named Arrow. I apologize. What's the name of
Arrow Christian Academy.
Okay. Who was in charge of that school?
It's a homeschool.
Were you part of that school?
Yes,
Okay. In what capacity?
I am the administrator.
Now, did you ever speak with Jonathan in the year 2013 about a relationship with a Sabrina?
I can't recall that.
Okay. Do you recall having any type of conversation in 2014?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall the time frame for that conversation?
I'm afraid I don't.
So it'd be fair to say you didn't speak much with your son about his personal life, is that, as in dating relationships?
I would say that we spoke about interactions. I didn't know of Sabrina actually at that time.
Now, when did you learn of Sabrina?
Dates are a little fuzzy for me, so
Okay. Was it after you had learned that her husband had been murdered?
it was approximate to that time. It was probably afterwards.
Did you ever meet Sabrina Limon in person?
No, I haven't.
Now, when you were spoken to by law enforcement, do you recall them inquiring about a Bible story, David and Bathsheba?
Yes.
Where is the story of David and Bathsheba from?
Like specific chapter in the Bible? It's in the Old Testament.
Okay. You ever taught that story to your children?
Many times.
What is the context of the story of David and Bathsheba?
King David is home from war. While his men are out to war, he's staying back. And while looking out his window, he observes a beautiful woman, asks for her to be brought to him. They end up having an affair. She becomes pregnant. Then in an attempt to hide her pregnancy, they go through some different ways to make her husband thinks he's the father of the child, and then when that doesn't work, he has the husband up too close to the battle to where he was not able to make it. He gets killed in battle as designed.
Okay. In what context did you teach that story to your children? What's the moral of that story?
A couple things. I'd say David shouldn't have been where he was when his men were out to war. He should have been where he should have been in the first place. And also ideas of self-control and not taking things that don't belong to you, and not lying to cover up things once you've done things you shouldn't have.
Now, when you were told by law enforcement after your son had been arrested that he had been speaking about that story, what did you think?
I'm trying to recall. I don't recall exactly. I think, as I just described to you, that if one doesn't keep oneself clean, it tends to get dirty. And I believed that my son, could have had an affair. If he was, like everybody in this courtroom, capable of doing things they shouldn't do.
But you had taught your son that story, and when he was growing up.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further.
Rob?
Good afternoon, Mr. Hearn.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Hearn, you talked about this story of David and Bathsheba. I believe that's 2 Samuel, wasn't it, sir?
I don't recall.
Okay. You are familiar with the story, and you've studied the scriptures, right?
Yes.
And you don't remember which particular chapter and verse this is in. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But you taught it to your children as they were attending school at your home school?
I taught it to my children as we are reading in the Bible together.
Okay. When was the last time you actually read the story of David and Bathsheba?
I don't recall.
But your son was familiar with it when he was referencing it, at least. Is that right?
He's been taught it many times.
By someone other than yourself. Is that right?
I don't know if any others have.
Well, he was raised and homeschooled and was a fairly devout Christian. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
And there's also a reference in Psalms 51 with regards to David and his transgressions, correct?
Numerous places in the Psalms.
Specifically where Nathan comes down and speaks with him, right? About his transgressions.
Nathan does speak to him about his transgressions.
And it talks about, you kind of quickly did a synopsis of it. David comes home from battle. He's back in home turf and sees Bathsheba, right?
David didn't go to battle. He stayed while the other men were out at battle.
Okay. But you said earlier that he'd come back from the battle and while the other soldiers were still at battle. Is that right?
No, I don't believe I said that.
Okay. I must have misheard you. So he was at home. He sees Bathsheba. Is that right?
Yes.
Bathsheba is Uriah's wife, correct?
Yes.
David, overcome with his lust, has her brought to him and they engage in sexual intercourse. Is that right?
Yes.
She becomes pregnant, or she finds out later she's pregnant, and it's with David's child, right?
Yes.
David has her husband Uriah, who's been at battle, brought back, or has him ordered back to the castle, right?
Yes.
And tells Uriah to go sleep with Bathsheba, to hide his infidelity with Bathsheba, right?
He gives him leave to go home, spend time with his wife.
Okay. And Uriah basically not wanting to do so because his soldiers were still at war, chose to sleep in the barracks. Is that right?
Honorable man that he was, decided rather than go take pleasure and lay with his wife, decides to sleep at the king's doorstep.
Right. And then, once David finds out that Uriah did not go home to his wife Bathsheba, now realizes that, in fact, his dalliances, if you will, with Bathsheba might be exposed because of her pregnancy, right?
Yes.
He has Uriah sent to the front, right? Back
Yes.
to the battle.
Yes.
And puts him at the lead of the battle, right?
Yes.
And then has the other soldiers withdraw so that Uriah is killed, right?
Yes.
And all of this is David's doing, right?
Yes.
And in fact, Bathsheba never knew that David had done this, right?
I don't know if it ever mentions it.
There's no mention of Bathsheba knowing that this is what David has done, is there?
I don't think so at all.
Certainly, if she had known, there would have been something that said she knew that David had done this, right?
I can't know that.
I'm sorry?
Well,
Well,
based
hold
on...
on.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a theological discussion here, Counsel. So
We've gotten as far as we're going to in the theological discussion.
off you go, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So based on your readings and everything, there's nothing that you saw, obviously, within the scriptures that indicate that Bathsheba knew what David had done.
That's correct.
Now, with regards to your son and his relationships or romantic involvements, did he talk to you a lot about women he was dating after he moved out of your home?
No.
So you weren't aware of what women he was or was not seeing once he was out on his own and living over behind your wife's father's house over on Lime Street?
No, I wouldn't know which women he was dating.
And he never talked to you about those types of things, about the women he was dating or seeing?
We talked numerous times in general, but not specifics.
Not any specific about any one particular
That's correct.
woman that he was seeing, or if he was seeing anyone.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Now, you mentioned that you were the administrator for the Arrow Christian Academy, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Jonathan was academically a very good student, wasn't
Yes, he was.
he? And did he actually get through the high school courses that he took, or get through his high school equivalency early, or did he finish up when he was 18?
He finished at the same time he graduated from our local community college, just at about 18. He was concurrently enrolled in college while he was also going to high school.
And his area of study while he was going to the community college was in what area?
He had two different main areas of study. One was in construction technologies, which is more in line with what I do for a living.
Right.
But then his definite focus was on firefighting.
I think one of the things they call it is like fire science or something along those lines. Would that be
Yes.
accurate?
And also health sciences, because to be in fire sciences, you have to kind of do both these days.
So he graduated from high school or finished his high school at the same time he was doing kind of an AA program or AS program for college studies?
That's correct.
Okay. And he went from that into a paramedic program and a firefighting program?
He got hired as a paramedic, firefighter,
And was that on a full-time position or part-time?
part-time initially.
Okay. And was his initial employment through the San Bernardino County Fire Department?
Yes.
And then subsequent to that, he got a position at Redlands?
Yes.
Would it be safe to say that your son was a very well-organized individual, obviously doing all these things at the same time?
He was generally well organized.
And obviously he planned out his education, I'm sure with your assistance, and planned out which direction he was going to go. Is that right?
It was kind of a team effort, yes.
But he made up his mind which way he wanted to go as far as becoming a firefighter, right?
He did.
It wasn't just something he fell into. It was something he organized his studies and worked towards. Would that
He
be
did.
right?
It was purposeful.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Hearn.
You're welcome.
Mr. Smith, any redirect? You can step down, Mr. Hearn. Thank you very much, sir. Up to recall, counsel.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hearn, stay in contact with the prosecutor in case we need you back, but you're free to go, sir.
I sure will, thank you.
All right. Need to check the hallway.
Oh, no, the witness is here. Tommy Robbins.
I did the whole thing, didn't I? Just before two. So I came back to lunch. I restarted it. Please step forward, raise your right hand and be sworn, please.
You do solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Come on up, have a seat. Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell us your name and spell your last name for the record?
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Tommy Robbins, T-O-M-M-Y, last name R-O-B-I-N-S.
Your witness, counselor.
How are you currently employed?
I am a senior deputy with the Kern County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you worked for the Kern County Sheriff Department?
Almost 15 years.
What was your assignment back in August of 2014?
I was assigned to the robbery homicide unit.
Did you receive a call out to respond to 1582 Goodrick Drive in Tehachapi?
Yes, sir.
Is that location in Kern County?
Yes, sir.
Did you receive that call out on August 17th of 2014?
Sounds about right.
Now, when you arrived on scene, did you do any witness interviews?
I believe I did a couple.
Did you recall the names of the individuals you spoke with?
One was, I believe the last name was Galindo, and I don't recall the second.
Okay. Were they both employees at BNSF?
I believe so.
Okay. Now moving on to November 18th, 2014. Did you respond to 27250 Strawberry Lane?
Yes, I did.
Okay, why did you go to that location?
To execute a search warrant.
Do you recall who was with you?
Detective Victor Garcia, Detective Mitch Adams, Sergeant Gary Williams, Evidence Technician Brenna Wolamy, and Evidence Technician Kim Cook.
And who did that residence belong to?
The defendant.
When you say the defendant, that's Sabrina Limon?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you were in the residence, 27250, did you have photographs taken of the home?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also have or direct some items to be seized?
Yes.
Okay. You yourself or other people that worked with you there?
Both.
What items did you have seized from Ms. Limon's home?
There was several financial documents, a computer, a couple of backpacks. I believe there was a couple of other items, a couple cell phones.
Your Honor, if I may approach, have an item marked.
Yes.
People's 24 mark next in order.
Have you approach the witness?
Please.
Showing you what's been marked as people's
24.
24. You recognize the item?
Yes, I do.
Just for the identifiers, is there information contained within the envelope that kind of shows that you're the one that sees the item?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just if we could step through, what do you do when you seize an item and then ultimately book it into property?
The item is packaged and sealed with some sort of evidence tape. Initials are often written along the evidence tape, the initials of the either seizing or booking officer along with the date.
Now, is there an identifier that denotes you're the one that booked it into evidence, like a number, anything like that?
Oh, there's both an evidence item number and my name also.
Okay. What is the evidence item number that's on People's 24?
T is in Tom, R is in Robert, 104.
And that item is a cellular phone.
Yes, sir.
TR104, where was that seized from?
If I may refer to my report to refresh my memory.
If that would refresh your recollection with the court's permission.
Go ahead. Thank you. 104 was seized from the top drawer of the dresser in the master bedroom.
Your Honor, if I may approach the witness.
Yes.
Let's just start with the bag. Do you recognize the bag?
I do.
Okay. Just generically, what are the contents of the bag?
Various financial documents.
Are these items that you yourself seized from Ms. Limon's residence November 18, 2014?
Yes.
Are you the one that seized those items, put it into the bag?
I believe so.
Now, the previous item was TR-104. What is the identifier as to the bag you currently have in front of you?
This bag contains TR-105 and TR-106.
Okay. What is TR-105?
Vanguard and BNSF financial documents.
Okay. If you could remove TR-105 from the bag now, please.
If I may have a pair of gloves, please.
I don't believe there's any biologics in there, Deputy Robbins, but if you want some gloves, we can round some up.
If it's...
Mr. Smith?
I think it'll be all right if he does it without gloves.
Mr. Smith said it'd be all right. Go ahead, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Smith, how do you wish to proceed on marking those?
Your Honor, I'm going to request that he separate them first prior to, and then
I'm
I will have them stapled.
anticipating my clerk's anxiety. Go ahead, sir.
Detective, if you could separate TR-105 from TR-106, please.
Okay.
Now, in either TR-105, TR-106, is there any life insurance paperwork that you can provide?
Yes, TR-106 contains New York Life documents.
Your Your Honor, if I may approach.
Please.
Equals 25, mark next to the order.
Detective Robbins, if you could just describe what People's 25 is.
People's 25 appears to be a life insurance statement for Robert Mendoza Limon Jr., listed as the insured, with a policy number of 236-10352.
Does it show a payout amount in reference to that policy you've just provided?
Yes, $300,000.
Does it show a policy date?
Yes, October 27th, 2014.
Your Honor, I would request to move People's 25 into evidence at this time.
Any objection, Mr. Chair?
See that again, please? I'm apologizing.
That's all right.
Sorry. Submitted, Your Honor.
All right. It'll be admitted. Proceed, Mr. Smith.
You also referenced paperwork from Vanguard or BNSF.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was TR 106.
No, the Vanguard and BNSF paperwork was TR 105.
Okay. If you could separate those items so I can have those items marked, please.
Just the Vanguard
Yes.
document? Okay.
the Vanguard and the BNSF paperwork, where did you find that at within her residence?
I did not actually locate that.
Who provided it to you?
Sergeant Gary Williams.
Okay. And were you also provided a cellular phone while you were at the residence?
Yes.
Okay. Who provided you a cellular phone?
Deputy Mountjoy.
Can you describe the phone that he provided you?
I remember it was an iPhone. That's all that I remember off the top of my head.
People's 26, Park next in order.
Your Honor, if I may approach the witness.
Please.
Detective Robbins, if you could help in People's 26, remember the contents, and we'll provide you a Ziploc bag to place the item. Now, the phone marked as TR-107, what did you do with it?
Booked it into the property room. Oh, did you want that in there?
If I may approach, have the photographs marked.
People's 27, Mark next in order.
If I may approach the witness.
Yes.
Showing you People's 27, if you could review the packet of photographs, please.
Okay.
Do you recognize the location of those photographs?
Yes.
Where were those photographs taken at?
At 27250 Strawberry Lane in Hellendale.
Now, did you yourself take the photos?
No.
Okay. Are the photographs an accurate representation of what you observed at Ms. Limon's home November 18, 2014?
Yes, sir.
I would request People's 27 moved into evidence at this time be allowed to publish.
Any objection?
Submitted.
To be admitted. Proceed, counsel.
Starting on page 1, People's 27. Could you just describe the photograph, please?
That is a photograph of the front side of the residence, 27250 Strawberry Lane.
Page 2.
That is a notebook that contained various financial documents.
What was the item number of that notebook?
Again, if I may refer back to my report.
If that would refresh your recollection with the court's permission.
Thank you. It was TR100.
Page 3.
That's a photograph of a computer that was seized from the residence.
Page 4.
I believe that is a drawer from the residence. Again, also a drawer from the bedroom.
That's page 5. Page 6.
It's an overall photograph of the master bedroom.
Page 7.
Another overall photograph of the master bedroom, just taken at a slightly different angle.
Now, the bottom left of that photograph, that's where the computer was that you seized.
Yes, sir.
Was page 7.
It's another overall photograph taken from the opposite direction of the master bedroom.
And the last page, page 8.
That is a photograph of the closet in the master bedroom at the residence.
I ask you specifically about page 2. You said those items are TR0, TR100, TR101? Just TR100.
I think that is just TR100.
Provide you with yet another bag containing financial documents. You can open it, please. If you could please provide me TR100.
Yes.
People's 28 or fixed order.
Let me approach.
Please.
Describe People's 28.
It appears to be a statement regarding a annuity for a child. It is addressed to Sabrina Limon for Robert Limon.
Does it give a specific name or just a child?
Give me a second to read through the entire document. Looks like it's multiple statements with two different names on it. One being Leanna Limon, the other being Robert Limon.
And those papers, People's 28 also has the name Sabrina Limon as well.
Yes, sir.
And return TR 100. Your Honor, I would request People's 28, which is financial documents from TR 100, be moved into evidence at this time.
Terry, as to 28, any objections?
I'm not sure the proper foundation has been laid, Your Honor, at this point as to the significance of those records. That they've been seized, yes, I would submit on that. But relevance, I'm not sure.
Well, the fact that they were seized, Mr. Smith?
Your Honor, it shows an award of an annuity under the Railroad Retirement Act. We had Mr. Flatman testify earlier today that there's survivor benefits. So it's paperwork relating to his earlier testimony that was in her possession.
Those were seized.
Yes.
Okay. They'll be admitted. Mr. Smith, 3 o'clock. Recesso por la tarde. Afternoon recess. See everybody back at 3:15, please. 3:15. All right, we'll go back on the record in People versus Limon. She's present in court with her attorney and the people are represented. We do have Detective Robbins still on the stand. Subject to direct by Mr. Smith and all 12 plus 4 in the box. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Mr. Smith, if you'd like to continue.
Thank you. Detective, on the break, we were able to find you some gloves.
Yes, sir.
There was a cell phone that you moved into evidence. If it's still within a bag within the item that was marked, correct?
Yes.
Okay, if you could put the gloves on, open up the Ziploc bag, and remove the phone from its container, and then replace it back into the bag.
Okay.
Thank you. Also, you referenced TR 101 prior to the break. Did you also observe a envelope containing additional life insurance information?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I may approach, Your Honor, and
Please.
put that item mark.
People's 29 must be in order.
Detective showing you again People's 29. You used to give the information as to the contents of that envelope.
The first item is an explanation of benefits from New York Life Insurance Company. It appears to be addressed to a Leon Boot.
The next item.
Next item is a receipt from Wells Fargo Bank dated October 30th, 2014. It lists a current balance of $27,399.99.
Next item.
Next item is another Wells Fargo Bank receipt dated October 30th, 2014, showing a current balance of $20,064.69. Next item is another Wells Fargo Bank receipt not seeing a date on it. It's also dated October 30th, 2014. It shows a deposit amount of $300,591.70. Next item is a Wells Fargo bank receipt dated October 30th, 2014. It shows a current balance of $307,991.77. The last item is a Wells Fargo bank receipt dated October 30th, 2014, showing a $20,000 deposit.
Your Honor, would request People's 26, which is the phone, moved into evidence at this time.
Mr. Terry?
I believe the proper foundation has been laid as to where that was recovered.
Mr. Smith?
I believe Deputy Mountjoy testified that he provided a phone he took from Jonathan Hearn to a fellow deputy. Deputy Robbins testified that Deputy Mountjoy provided him an iPhone and subsequently.
It took two to line it up, counsel, correct?
It did.
All right. Jackson's noted overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing further.
Mr. Terry Cross?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Deputy Robbins.
Good afternoon, sir.
The search that you conducted of Ms. Limon's residence, what day was that?
I believe it was November 18th, 2014.
And you went in and you seized certain items, including a laptop computer, is that right?
I believe it was a desktop computer.
Desktop computer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was one of the items you seized, along with financial documents, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you mentioned and referenced some items such as from Vanguard, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is the Vanguard document still up there with you?
Yes, sir.
And if I could see those, please. That's it. Okay, thank you. Were they all loose like this when you found them, or were they all in a folder, such as this?
I don't remember.
Okay. And this is all part of what you call TR-25, is that right? Or TR-105, I'm sorry. It's, I think, right on the tab right there on the document.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. If I could, Your Honor, I'd like to have all these documents marked as defense exhibit.
Any objection to that, Mr. Smith?
No.
Defense Exhibit I, marked next to order.
I as in India.
Now, right now the top document is a folder from Vanguard, is that right?
I don't know if it's a folder or a booklet, but yes,
Okay.
similar to.
Okay. And attached to that, clipped to that are a number of documents also from Vanguard
Yes, sir.
and also from BNSF.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And with regards to the folder or the on top, the top series of documents, are there documents contained within that folder or along those lines?
Yes, it appears to be another separate booklet within it.
And that's the item that you seized. It was marked as TR 105 and booked into evidence. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the top of that booklet, on the top of it, is there something written on top?
Yes, sir.
What's written on top?
It's a heart shape. Rob Limon, another heart. I miss you.
And that was how you found it when you obtained the document and seized those documents. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, the other financial documents you found, those were all ones that you also found on November 18th, 2014. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And a lot of those documents are dated late October, that they were at least indicated on that, those documents themselves. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And there appears to have been, you mentioned that the policy, the life insurance policy, was obtained or was dated October 27th of 2014. Is that right?
I believe that's the statement date.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure of. It wasn't the policy. That was when the policy was obtained. Is that right?
That's not what appeared to me. It appeared to me that the date printed on the statement was the printed date.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you find the actual physical policy itself?
Not to my recollection.
You indicated you located some cell phones when you conducted the search of a residence.
I did not locate the cell phones. Another detective did. I seized them.
You seized them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many cell phones did you seize at Ms. Limon's residence?
Total of 3, including the cell phone that was provided to me by Deputy Mountjoy.
Okay, so there were 2 at her residence that you seized, and then there was the one that was provided to you by Deputy Mountjoy.
Yes, sir.
And that was the iPhone.
Yes, sir.
Was Ms. Limon at the residence when you did the search?
No,
Was she brought to the residence when you did the search?
not to my knowledge.
With regards to those cell phones that were found at the residence, was it ever determined whose cell phones those were?
I don't know. I'm not the lead detective. I wouldn't have that knowledge.
These were all items that you had as of November 18, 2014 that you seized. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There was no subsequent search that you did of Ms. Limon's residence after November 18, 2014?
Not that I conducted, no.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further at this time.
Mr. Smith,
Nothing further.
you step down a second. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith, count all this stuff.
If I just have a moment, Your Honor.
Yeah. Mr. Smith, the next witness.
People call Detective Garcia.
Sir, could you come forward, step up to the podium, raise your right hand, be sworn?
You do solemnly state that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Come on up, have a seat, please, sir. Could you tell us your name and spell your last name for the record?
Victor Garcia, Garcia.
Your witness, counselor.
How are you currently employed?
As a deputy with the Kern County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you worked for the Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 16 years.
Now, this year, January 3rd, 2017, did you respond to 15170 Lime Street to do a search of a residence?
Yes, sir.
Who did you go with?
I accompanied Detective Meyer, Sergeant Joel Swanson, and T.I. Jackie Moore.
What was the purpose of you responding to that location?
Detective Meyer had learned some information of possible evidence located at the residence.
Whose residence were you going to search?
It belongs to Carol Hearn's father.
Now, what portion of that residence did you search?
We searched the back portion, which is a partially converted garage. Half of it's garage, half of it's a single bedroom dwelling.
Now, besides the garage and the single bedroom dwelling, did you search any of the other outlying buildings?
Just looked in some of the buildings and around some of the vehicles that were around the garage.
And when you arrived, were you looking for specific items?
Yes.
Okay. What type of intel did you have, and what were you looking for?
We're looking for specific chemicals that were supposed to be stored in a 5-gallon paint bucket.
Your Honor, if I may approach, have some photos marked.
Yes.
Equals 30 and 31 North North.
approach.
Yes.
We'll start with People's 30, if you could just briefly review the photographs, please.
Go through all of them.
Do the same as well for People's 31. Starting with People's 30, recognize the photographs.
Yes,
Did you yourself take the photographs?
I did not.
Are they an accurate representation, however, of what you observed at the residence you searched on January 3rd of this year, 2017?
Yes,
Same question for People's 31. Did you take the photographs?
I did not.
Are they an accurate representation of what you observed during the search January 3rd, 2017?
There.
Your Honor, would request People's 31 and 30 be moved into evidence, be allowed to publish.
Any objections, sir?
Submitted.
Be admitted, counsel. Proceed.
Starting with page 1, if you could just describe the photo, please.
That's going to be the converted, half converted garage. We are facing north. The door is facing south.
Now, do you have specific knowledge of where you were to look in that garage?
Yes.
Where were you directed towards?
Detective Meyer had spoken with Jonathan, and he had pointed out some areas in some pictures of the garage.
Page 2, describe the photo, please.
That's going to be the center of the garage interior. The back wall is going to be the north. I believe we're standing in the doorway going into the garage.
Just in general, what was the condition of the garage?
Semi-messy. The right portion of the picture is going to be where the dwelling's at. The garage, it looks like it was used for storage and possibly as a workshop at some point in time.
Page 3,
That's going to be the garage. We're now standing on the north side facing south.
page 4,
Same thing, garage facing, we're facing in a southeasterly direction.
page 5,
We're in the southwest corner facing northeast.
so you got directed to a particular portion of that garage?
Yes,
Okay. Is that where the photo is taken from?
in that general area where we're standing.
Page 6,
We're on the southeast portion facing north.
now in all these photos showing different parts of the garage, did you search the other locations as well, the other boxes, the other bags, or did you go to a particular location?
We were looking at particular locations and particular items.
Page 7,
We're standing on the southeast portion facing northwest,
page 8,
northeast to southeast.
page 9,
That's going to be the northeast to the southwest corner.
page 10,
That was a small table that was at the southwest portion of the garage next to the door entering the dwelling part of the garage.
Did you search the bags, the containers, the paint, if you recall?
We don't. I don't recall searching the small paint cans. I believe Detective Meyer searched that foam container with the plastic bag.
Do you know if anything was located?
There was a black bag, I believe it was. It was wrapped up like something had been stored in it, and then an off-white towel. I think the towel was just dirty. It also appeared that something had been wrapped in it.
Next in order, is that the same location you've just described?
Yes.
Describe this photo, please.
Those are some paint cans we found center of the garage near the west wall, pretty much in the center.
Are you specifically looking for paint cans?
Yes.
The two that are on the floor here, did either you or someone else look through them that you're aware of?
Yes, I believe those are the ones that I went through.
Next in order.
That's going to be a shelf on the north wall, just contains several different cans.
This is a photograph containing a DeWalt item with some duct tape. Why was this photographed?
I believe that was the off-white towel that I was describing, that it appeared something had been wrapped in, or something was wrapped in it.
So you were directed to the garage.
Yes.
You were directed to look into paint cans.
Yes.
Locate anything in paint cans within the garage.
No.
After you were unable to locate anything within a paint can in the garage, where did you look?
Sergeant Swanson alerted me to additional 5-gallon paint buckets that were outside on the east side of the garage.
So your attention was directed to look through 5-gallon paint buckets.
Specifically 5-gallon paint buckets.
Moving on to People's 30. If you could describe the photo, please.
That's going to be a little parking spot on the east side of the garage.
Page 2.
Those were the additional 5-gallon buckets of paint that Sergeant Swanson directed me to.
Page 3.
Again, the same 5-gallon buckets, just a close-up picture of them.
So you opened all 3 of those 5-gallon paint buckets.
Yes.
Page 4.
Same cans, just a little bit farther out.
Page 5.
A close-up from the top of the same cans.
Page 6.
When we opened the cans, one of the cans had a plastic bag. It appeared items were wrapped in it. I believe the other ones had paint in them.
Now, the plastic bag, was that visible when the can was sealed? The paint can was sealed?
I don't recall if the plastic bag was sticking out or not.
But the 3 cans that we saw in the prior photos, the one that we're seeing currently on photo 6 is one of those paint cans.
Yes, we removed the can from its location just to get it into a more open area where we could work.
Page 7.
That's a close-up of some of the items that were inside the paint bucket.
Now, how were they packaged, if at all?
It looked like initially they were in some type of cardboard box, but through time, either water or some of the liquid inside of the boxes had leaked out and soaked the boxes they were in. So the boxes were falling apart.
Page 9.
That's a close-up of some of the items that were in the box. Oh, sorry, in the can.
Page 10.
Those were some of the bottles that I removed, and those were like little petri dishes that were also inside of the 5-gallon bucket.
Page 11.
The previous photo were the items that I removed. Those were additional items that were inside the bucket, but they were submerged in some of that liquid. I didn't feel that it was safe to remove the items that were in the liquid. I passed that information on to Sergeant Swanson at that time.
About how much liquid was in the bag?
I'd say it was probably about the bucket. It would have been about half full.
Page 12.
That was the last item I removed out of the bucket before I made the decision not to remove any other items. That was a can or a small glass bottle labeled arsenic trioxide, 100 grams.
Page 13.
Same bottle, just a farther picture.
14?
And that's close up of the bottle.
Okay, describe the contents of that bottle.
It was I described it as a light powder.
Next in order?
That was the items that I initially removed out of the 5-gallon bucket.
Next photo?
Those were the additional bottles that were in the bucket. Once we contacted San Bernardino Fire, they responded with their hazmat unit and made sure that the items were safe to be removed after donning protective gear.
There is what appears to be a scale to the right. That was in the bucket as well?
Yes, all the items in the photos were coming from the bucket.
So not just the bottles, but the scale and then the arsenic as well.
Correct.
Next in order?
It's close up of the same scale. That's one of the labels that fell off one of the bottles. And that's the same label, we just laid it out flat to take a picture of it.
The label, was it on the bottle when you removed it and it came off, or was it off the bottle?
I don't recall if that label was on one of the bottles or not.
Next in order?
Picture of one of the bottles removed from the 5-gallon bucket.
The title of what the item is kind of obscure. Were you able to find out what that is?
It was identified as copper sulfate.
Next in order?
Same bottles. The little testers were used by San Bernardino Fire Hazmat to take some of the liquid out to test and make sure that the item inside the bottle was what it was labeled.
Seems to be a brown item on one of the bottles.
That was part of the cardboard box that I mentioned that they appeared to be packaged in before it started falling apart.
Next in order?
One of the bottles removed from the 5-gallon bucket.
Is this ethylene glycol, or what is this item?
No, that was the acid, hydrochloric acid.
And the last photo?
I believe those were just like tester tubes that were also in the bucket.
So within the bucket, located to the right of the garage, there was ethylene glycol, copper sulfate, hydrochloric acid, and arsenic trioxide.
Yes, sir.
On January 3rd, 2017, did you receive an item that had been previously labeled as TR107, a white Apple iPhone?
Yes.
If I may approach you.
Yes.
As to that Apple iPhone, did you also receive the passcode for the iPhone on January 3rd,
Yes.
2017? Now, with that information, the passcode and the phone, what did you do?
We had, with the passcode, the phone, and a permission to search for the phone, I transported to the Technical Investigator's Office, Kern County Sheriff's Office, to have the phone downloaded.
Now, after the phone was downloaded, did you take that information and subsequently book it?
Yes. It was downloaded onto Blu-ray discs, which I booked into the Sheriff's Office property room.
And what is the identifier that you put with it?
If I may review my report.
That would refresh your recollection.
Yes.
Court's permission.
Please.
The item I put on the disc was VG1.
And who provided the passcode to that cell phone that's up in front of you?
Detective Meyer provided the passcode to me.
And do you know what type of software was used to download the phone?
I do not.
I might have missed this, but who was the technical investigator who downloaded the phone?
I believe it was evidence technician Jackie Moore.
Nothing further.
Terry Cross?
Yes. Good afternoon, Detective Garcia.
Good afternoon, sir.
This search that you conducted of Jonathan Hearn's residence on Lime Street in Hesperia, this was done on January 3rd of 2017. Is that right?
It was, sir.
So almost 2.5 years after the homicide took place.
Yes.
And over 2 years after his residence was searched initially by the Sheriff's Department.
I don't know the date that his residence was initially searched. I was not involved in that.
You weren't aware that it was searched on November 18th of 2014?
I knew the residence was searched. I couldn't tell you the date.
Okay. You weren't involved in that search, is that right?
No.
Okay. Now you were directed to look for, sorry, I'm going to go blind with this light. There we go. Oh, there we go. You were directed to look in the garage for paint cans, is that right?
That was the information we had, sir.
Specifically 5-gallon paint cans.
Yes.
Okay. And when you went through the garage, you found some 5-gallon paint cans, but they appeared not to have been opened. Is that right?
No, that's not correct, sir.
Okay. So you did see 5-gallon paint cans, but you didn't open them?
That's not correct, sir.
Okay. Did you open all the 5-gallon paint cans in the garage before you went outside the garage?
Correct.
Okay. And when you were searching inside the garage, you didn't locate in the location where you anticipated finding this 5-gallon paint can with evidence in it. You did not locate those items in that location in the garage. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now you went out to the carport area outside of the garage. Is that right?
Yes.
And outside there, that's where you saw the other paint cans.
Initially, Sergeant Swanson located them and alerted me to the cans.
So with regards to the paint cans within the garage, you didn't find any, but you did find some outside, and that's where you found these items that you removed from one of them. Is that right?
We found paint cans, 5-gallon paint buckets inside the garage as well as outside. The ones
You
outside.
didn't find anything of evidentiary value in the paint cans inside the garage where you were first directed to go, but you did in the one outside.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. To your knowledge, did anybody bother to search the garage back in 2014?
I'm sure they did, but I couldn't say who it was, sir.
Okay, or how put it, thorough a search they did?
Correct.
Okay. And we've now, 2.5 years later, do you know how many people have had access to that garage area?
No.
And the can that you found, what you thought were evidence of, or at least evidentiary items of interest, were not located where you were told, but in another location. Is that right?
Correct.
So it means that somebody had been in the residence or in the garage and moved items. Is that right?
That's correct. When we arrived, we were told by Emily Hearn that they had straightened the garage out, but they had not thrown anything away.
Did you determine whether or not those items that you found in the parking or in the carport area, whether or not those were some of the items that she had moved?
I don't believe she specifically told us what items they moved.
And you didn't follow up to determine if those were items that actually had been moved?
I did not, sir.
Now, once you located those items in the one bucket outside the carport, you then photographed the buckets in place, which were in front of that work truck. Is that right?
T.I. Moore photographed the buckets.
Okay. Those were photographed in place, and then you moved one of the buckets, or did you move them all to a location where you could more easily access them?
We just moved the one. After looking through all of them, we moved the one, which we believed had evidentiary value.
Now, once you opened up the one, you found that plastic bag, and I believe you said there were those bottles that were inside the bag, and there was fluid in the bag. Is that right?
Correct.
And one of the bottles that you found was the arsenic trioxide. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the amount of arsenic trioxide that was supposed to be contained within that container? If you recall.
I believe it was supposed to be 100 grams.
Okay. Now, after you seized, or let me put it this way, after you saw these items and saw that there was possible caustic chemicals in there, you thought you better call in hazmat to handle the items. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Now, the liquid that they were laying in, was that water, paint, or some other substance that you couldn't identify?
I believe Captain Saavedra from the San Bernardino fire said it was a mixture of several different items.
Oh. Now, with regards to the arsenic trioxide, did the San Bernardino County Fire Department hazmat unit immediately seal that arsenic trioxide as a hazardous material?
No.
Okay. What did they do with it?
Upon arrival, let me go back. Prior to their arrival, we backed off, left the chemicals in place. After Captain Saavedra from the hazardous material team arrived, he donned his protective gear, and he started going through each of the chemicals to identify them. The only one he did not open due to its hazardous content was arsenic trioxide.
So, no one examined or exactly removed any of the arsenic trioxide to test it. It just went based on the label. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. With regards to the contents of that bottle of arsenic trioxide, I want to make sure, how many grams was it supposed to be?
I believe it was 100 grams, but if I could review my report.
Okay. If that would refresh your recollection, please do so, sir. I want to make sure we're accurate.
Yes, sir, 100 grams, which is approximately 4 ounces.
Okay. And how much was missing?
I would say approximately half the bottle.
You actually measured it to see what the amount was remaining inside? In other words, how many grams?
No, the bottle was, you could look through the bottle. It was glass, see-through, brown.
Okay, I understand that. But did you actually measure the contents to determine how much was missing?
I did not, sir. I looked at the bottle and made an estimation.
Okay. And you saw that the bottle was, you thought, half full. Is that right?
I'd say approximately half.
Okay, but you don't know how much was in it when it was received?
No, I did not want to get exposed to that.
And I understand completely. So with regards to that, how much was actually contained in the bottle, you don't know the actual quantity that was in the bottle when you obtained it, right?
Correct.
Okay. tubes, is that right? That was what was in the plastic bag?
There was two different plastic bags. One appeared to be like small petri dishes. The other ones looked like small tester tubes, or the little bubble tubes to remove liquid.
Okay. Did any of those appear to have been used?
The pack was open. I don't think any of the ones that were in the pack were used.
With regards to the petri dishes you talked about, did any of them appear to have been used that you could tell?
I couldn't tell. Some of them appeared to have liquid in them, possibly from the liquid that was in the can.
In other words, those were petri dishes that had gotten into the liquid itself that was inside the can and inside that bag.
I believe so.
That caused the cardboard box to dissolve.
Yes.
Could you tell what that cardboard box was purportedly was supposed to contain within it? Was there any type of label on the box itself that was still intact?
I don't recall a label. I believe the tape that was used on it was from Amazon, but I don't recall a label.
And with regards to the Apple iPhone, that was a passcode that you received on January 3rd of this year?
Yes,
Okay, of 2017.
correct.
And to your knowledge, how long had that iPhone been in the possession of the Kern County Sheriff's Department?
If I had to say, I'd probably say since Jonathan Hearn was arrested,
And November 18th of 2014.
if that was the date of his arrest, yes.
So up until January 3rd of 2017, you were unable to access the phone. Is that right?
I never tried to access the phone, sir.
Well, let me ask you this. Without the passcode, would you have been able to access the phone?
I don't know the capabilities of the software used. It's possible. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Smith.
Nothing further.
Good one, Detective. Thank you. Thank you, Detective Smith. Step up to the podium, raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly state the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Come on up, have a seat, please. Tell us your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Tanner Miller, Tanner, Miller.
You look closer to that microphone.
Yes, sir.
Your witness, counselor.
How are you currently employed?
As a senior deputy sheriff with the Kern County Sheriff's Office.
What is your current job title?
I'm a detective in the robbery homicide unit.
How long have you been part of the robbery homicide unit?
For approximately 1 year.
Earlier this year, did you respond to 15170 Lime Street to do a search?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall the date that you arrived?
January 7th, 2017.
Who did you go with?
Myself, Detective Meyer, evidence technician Kevin Thompson, and evidence technician Jackie Moore.
And when you responded to that location, did you have specific intel where you should look for particular items?
Yes.
Now, where was your primary search area?
The primary search area was a chicken coop that was located on the property.
When you say located on the property, can you just describe, please?
The chicken coop was a detached building in the northwest corner of the property at 15170 Lime Street.
How big was the chicken coop?
It was it appeared they had made the shed into a chicken coop. It was a storage room filled with boxes. Middle of the chicken coop was a wire where chickens were on the, I believe it'd be the west side, and then there was a storage room on the east side of the chicken coop.
Actual chickens?
Yes,
What was the condition of the storage area?
very dirty.
Were you part of the process of searching that storage area within the shed that had been converted to a chicken coop?
Yes, I was.
What process did you guys, what did you do? Did you pull everything out?
Yes, after opening the doors, we began removing box by box, stacking them into a vehicle, into the back of a truck, and outside of the storage unit until we could locate the items we were there to seize.
Now, when you looked into the area, could you see anything besides boxes?
No, the boxes were from the floor to the ceiling, from wall to wall.
You said it was very dirty. Describe what you mean.
Very dusty, and like I explained earlier, the chicken coop was to the west side of the shed area. There was only a wire mesh screen that separated the chickens from the storage area, so there was also chicken, feces and just a very dirty in appearance.
Fair enough, if I may approach, have items marked.
Yes.
Equals 32 marked as order.
May I approach the witness?
Please.
Detective Miller, if you could help with the packet of photographs, please.
Yes, sir.
Recognize the contents of People's 32.
Yes, I do.
Did you take the photograph?
I did not.
Do you recognize all of the photos of what they are of?
Yes, I do.
They're an accurate representation of what you observed January 7th, 2017 at 15170 Lime Street.
Yes.
Your Honor, we request People's 32 be moved into evidence, be allowed to publish.
Any objection, Mr. Chairman?
Submitted.
Submitted. Proceed, counsel.
Detective, I'm going to start with page 3, packet. You could just describe the photo, please.
This is the southern portion of the chicken coop. I believe the door we had opened up would be the door on the right, be the east door.
So there is 2 doors that are shown in this photo.
Correct.
Does the other door go to where the chickens are?
I'm not sure. I believe so.
You can see some green bins through a window. Is that the storage area that you searched?
Yes, it is.
Page 4.
That is a photograph of the interior of the shed after the door was opened. You can see the bins, and then you can see the wire mesh screen separating the shed area from the chicken coop area.
How far from the ceiling was it that these boxes were piled up?
Approximately 1 to 2 feet in some areas.
Page 5.
Just a different angle, a different photograph showing a farther, I believe that's more of an eastern look into the shed.
Now, as you can see in this photograph, the 5th one, there's quite a bit of dust accumulation on some of the totes. Was that consistent throughout the storage shed on all the items you observed?
Yes.
Moving on to the 6th photo. Describe, please.
That is a blue Walmart reusable style bag that we located along the east wall of the shed area.
So you're opening the door to the storage shed. Where is the east wall?
Be on your right side. If you're standing at the front door, it'd be on your right side looking into the shed.
How many boxes did you have to remove prior to getting to that Walmart tote bag?
We removed approximately half of the boxes into the shed before we were able to see it.
When you're saying the east wall, is it the east wall closest to you or further away from you as in standing by the door?
The east wall would be if you step into the shed, the east wall would be directly to your right.
Now, was this tote bag on top of boxes, behind boxes? Where was it at?
It was behind boxes near the ground area.
The next photo in order.
It's hard to see. It's I believe it's a photograph of the either the blue and black backpack or the. It's hard to see with the glare.
If you could describe the photo.
It is a photograph of a blue and black backpack that we located along the north wall, which if you step into the chicken coop, it would be the wall directly across from you as you enter in.
The blue and black bag, that's where I just made the circle?
Yes.
Now, was that item behind boxes, or did you have to remove boxes to get to it?
Yes, we did.
Next in order.
It's just an overall of the blue and black backpack and also of the blue Walmart reusable style bag.
And the last photo.
That's an overall of the shed to show the boxes that we had removed in order to be able to get the bags.
So this is actually after you've removed some boxes.
Yes.
Now, did you also search inside of the single room apartment that was nearby?
Yes, we did.
Recall locating any receipts?
Yes.
What did you locate? Or where? I'm sorry.
We located a receipt in the bedroom of the residence.
Okay. Showing you now the first photograph from the packet. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
What is that photo of?
It is a receipt. It was in, I'm not sure what the notebook was. It was in the notebook pages, but it's a Walmart receipt for ammo.
Did you bring that receipt with you today?
Yes, I did.
You can provide that to me. showing you People's Exhibit 33. Is this the same Walmart receipt that's up in the photograph currently on the screen?
Yes, it is.
How was the receipt within that book, if you know?
It was folded within the pages. The book was closed, and the receipt was in between two of the pages.
So as it's laid out right there, opened, showing at the top and the bottom, that's not how it was actually within the book when you were searching?
I believe that's after the book was opened, the receipt was laid flat, and the photograph was taken.
You said that that was a purchase of ammunition at Walmart?
Yes,
Or a receipt for a purchase of ammunition?
correct.
Okay. What location or what Walmart was that purchased at?
It is in Hesperia, California.
Okay. And the date of purchase?
It was August 17th, 2014.
Nothing further.
Good morning. All right. That'll do it for today. Everybody back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, okay? Remember not to form or express any opinion or discuss the case.